Hello and welcome back to the Nerd Melon Show. Halloween 2022 is just around the corner, and to celebrate, nerdmelon.com has uploaded a new blog post which includes a photo gallery of 666 pre-code horror comic book covers. Today we look at our favorites. To begin with, I'd just like to read the first sentence of this blog post. Beware. It says, this page contains images of torture, decapitation, bondage, murder, cannibalism, adultery, suicide, cult worship, sacrifice, witchcraft, war, sex, and violence. So please, viewer discretion is advised. But if you want it, the link is in the description. The blog post goes on to explain what a pre-code comic book is. Back in 1954, a book was published called The Seduction of the Innocent, which outlines how comic books of the time were corrupting youth. This led to the creation of the Comic Code Authority, which was put into place to stifle the before-mentioned sex and violence in comic books. But let's take a look and see why they thought it was so important. Here we have the blog post of the 666 pre-code comic covers, and as an example, we will just look at the first four listed. First we have Punch Comics, which is an awesome name, by the way, with cover art depicting a giant skull with dead people hanging out of the eye socket and mouth, and two guys shooting guns at each other. Then this copy of Venus, where a man whose facial skin has been pulled up is attempting to kiss a beautiful woman as three cloaked skeletal figures watch from behind. Then this copy of Crime Does Not Pay, where a man, seemingly possessed by a ghost looming over his shoulder, pushes a woman's head into the flames of a gas stove. We have Thrilling Mystery, with a skeletal magician holding an unconscious woman in front of a table with two severed hands, while the owner of those two severed hands, a monster of some kind, looks on from behind while standing next to a guillotine. Let's take a look at some of our other favorites. This is a copy of Mass Comics #1, a very rare and valuable comic from 1945, with an extremely demonic cover. Here's one from Exciting Comics, or just EC for short. EC was the Marvel or the DC of horror comics of the time. Here's a classic cover with a dude getting a bullet through the head, and another one with an axe murderer holding the severed head of one of his victims. Here's an interesting one with a man eating human stew. Or this one, where we have to guess, is the man taking out the monster brain, or is he putting it back in? Everyone has had this experience at one point in their life. You go swimming in a dark ocean, and you get that feeling that there's a skeleton reaching up at your toes. This cover is likely the most well-known of the bunch. This is Chamber of Chills number 19 from 1953. Human to human or skeleton to human violence is not the only theme either, like this copy of Strange Worlds with a robotic metal murderer. There's also creepy dolls, and clowns, and jungle women stabbing crocs in the heart. The list includes pulp magazines, named pulp because of the cheap paper they were printed on. These magazines have covers like comic books, but were more like novels on the inside, with text being the predominant media, with only a few scatterings of animation here and there. However, they are just as collectible as comics, and the cover art has its own beautiful style. Here's a nice pulp magazine cover featuring a skeleton figure wearing a red hoodie, about to cut a woman's head off with one hand while holding a gun in the other hand. All the while, a vial of greenish blue liquid boils up a scary face in the corner. Yes, these comics have violence and gore. Even when you compare them to today's standards, they're pretty bad. But that's what makes them so awesome. Attitudes were a lot more conservative back in the 1940s and 50s. And to publish this kind of content back then must have been super shocking to some people. The author of the book Seduction of the Innocent, Fred Wortham, he even had a gripe with Batman and Superman. He thought they were gay and lesbian, and that was going to corrupt all the kids. Some of the comics on these lists are actually mentioned in his book. And that's it for our show. Thank you for watching. Remember, there are 666 of these in the link below. Take some time this Halloween to freak yourself out and maybe learn some history while you're at it. Happy Halloween, everybody!